أهلا بكم مشاهدي آي تك عبر قناة الحرة في جرين آي تك. جرين آي تك هذا الأسبوع معكم من داخل مكاتب المنظمة العالمية جرين بيس. سنتطرق إلى النفايات الإلكترونية ومشاريع جرين بيس في هذا المجال. مواضيع مهمة وعديدة سنتطرق إليها في هذا اللقاء. قبل ذلك نتواصل دائما عبر بريدنا الإلكتروني itech@alhurra.com. يمكن مشاهدة هذه الحلقة وحلقات أخرى من آي تك عبر موقع القناة www.alhurra.com، وأيضا على موقع youtube.com/الحرة، والتواصل معنا أيضا من خلال facebook.com/itechshow، وآخر أخبار البرنامج من خلال itechshow على تويتر.
E-waste is the waste that's generated by electronic products, both consumer electronics and also the products that are in the industry called B2B, business-to-business products, things like server blades and things of that nature. E-waste is important because it has a lot of hazardous chemicals that are embedded in the product. Historically, these products have been designed with toxic chemicals such as lead, mercury, hexavalent chromium, brominated flame retardants, PVC plastic. So because of these toxic chemicals, this electronic waste is very dangerous, especially when it's either assembled or disassembled. When heat is added, a lot of these chemicals or compounds can be highly reactive. So, unfortunately, a lot of the electronic waste in the United States and across the world is shipped to developing countries where it's improperly recycled. They're open burned to get at the waste. They're really looking for traces of gold and copper that often line the electronics for a very informal black market sector. And when they burn these electronics to get at the copper and the gold, they are ended up releasing lead, mercury, PVC plastic, which when burned releases dioxin. They're releasing these chemicals into the environment that are endangering the people and their health who live near these areas. In fact, this reality causes electronic waste to be the largest form of hazardous waste that's shipped globally. There is no agency that is regulating e-waste that's leaving the United States. In the European Union, there's an estimate that at least 9 million tons of e-waste is generated in the EU every year. The European Union, unlike the United States, has laws that are on the books to regulate electronic waste to prevent it from being shipped overseas. Now, even in the European Union, they're only estimating of that 9 million that 3 million tons of e-waste is actually collected. So they don't even know what happens to the other 6. Globally, the United Nations estimates that anywhere between 20 and 50 million tons of electronic waste is generated every year. And that figure is growing. So a couple of the key toxic chemicals and compounds that we're focusing on in current electronics are PVC plastic and brominated flame retardants. PVC plastic's used in everything from the lining of our external power cord to the wiring and the cables that line the insides of our electronic gadgets. And when burned, both brominated flame retardants and PVC plastic can create dioxin, which is a known carcinogen. And actually, we're seeing in areas that have high electronic waste dumping grounds in Guayu, in a very infamous city in China that is home to perhaps more electronic waste than any other city on the planet, but other hotspot areas in India. Now we're seeing this move to West Africa in Nigeria and Ghana. We're seeing acute spikes in the level of dioxin formation in the soil. We've done our own scientific studies, as have countless other agencies. And this is a tremendous problem in terms of these communities being exposed to a very high risk of cancer by the burning of this electronic waste in their cities.
It is a problem. I see and I know that there are reports of a lot of electronic waste being imported illegally to China. they are definitely imported illegally. I believe reasons are the enforcement of the law is very weak at the moment in China. Many of them are actually smuggled in. Also, I think some importers sort of use various different names and different loopholes to actually ship in those kind of waste with hazardous materials. I think it is Hong Kong's responsibility to have this stopped. If we are the gateway to such illegal trading, we should have the responsibility of keeping our door well locked.
The easiest way that we've learned time and time again, many people learned the mantra, reduce, reuse, and then recycle. So really what we tell both the average consumer, and we also talk to all the multinational global electronics leaders, we're talking about, okay, we need to reduce and ultimately eliminate the toxic chemicals that are made in these products. Then we need to, that will help the ability for these products to be properly recycled. If you have a product that is littered with toxic chemicals, you actually can't recycle it. But if you design it in an eco way, then you can actually reuse and recycle most of that product's materials. You make a product that is, compared to your competitors, much more free of toxic chemicals. So it may have cost you a little bit on the front end. But increasingly, we're seeing laws and commitments from companies that say, I'm going to be financially responsible, or I have to be because the law says, I'm going to be financially responsible for my electronic products. So if you make a product that is inherently designed with more eco attributes, you're going to, when you take that product back because you're financially responsible, more of that product is going to be able to be reused and recycled because it is not littered with toxic chemicals. So you're going to save money on the end when you get that product back. And so there are true cost benefits for companies who do eco-design, even if they have to face an initial small upfront cost. And these upfront costs are decreasing. Apple's a good example. They had their CEO, Steve Jobs, for many years what we felt he was talking more than he was actually doing at Apple. And so we challenged them. We said, we want to see a greener Apple. We want to see a greener Apple company. And, I don't think it made us a lot of friends at Apple. We weren't exchanging Christmas cards. But ultimately what happened was that the company took it upon themselves to be the leader that they were saying that they were. And now look at them. They're the only PC manufacturer that you can get a PC that is free of PVC plastic. It's free of brominated flame retardants. They've leapfrogged the rest of the industry. They've stepped up to the plate. They've taken that challenge and they've really responded well. This guide to greener electronics, as well as all of the detailed information that goes behind each company's aggregate score, is released every 3 months on the Greenpeace website, greenpeace.org/ranking guide. And you can go there, your viewers can go there and see the very latest in these scores. And with each company's score, every question that they answer has to provide a public URL that anyone can see. These are not communications that are in some back room with Greenpeace. These things need to be available on their websites for businesses and consumers. Right now we see a couple of mobile phone companies that are at the top of our ranking. Nokia leads the way, and Sony Ericsson is not too far behind. We also then have companies like Samsung that have a more diverse portfolio of products, also at the top. And at the very bottom we have Nintendo, primarily a game console company, also with Lenovo, Hewlett-Packard at the bottom. Lenovo and Hewlett-Packard, again, they're receiving a penalty because They made a commitment to us. Some of our questions are about what are you doing, and some of our questions are what are you planning to do in the future? Well, Hewlett-Packard and Lenovo both pledged to phase out of PVC plastic and brominated flame retardants in their products by the end of this year, and they've pulled that corporate commitment. And so because of that, they're being penalized in our ranking because they're backtracking from a commitment. And if these companies' commitments are not good, if their word is not good, then how can we trust them on any of their other commitments? It's a very important issue.
مشاهدي آيتك عبر قناة الحرة، فاصل قصير من ثم نتابع هذا اللقاء من جرين آيتك من داخل مكاتب المنظمة العالمية جرين بيس، والموضوع حول النفايات الإلكترونية ونشاط جرين بيس في هذا المجال. بعد هذا الفاصل مشاهدي آيتك عبر قناة الحرة نتابع جرين آيتك، وما زلنا معكم من داخل مكاتب المنظمة العالمية جرين بيس، والموضوع النفايات الإلكترونية ونشاط جرين بيس في هذا المجال.
Greenpeace is a very unique organization. We raise almost all of our money through small grassroots donations. So that's the $10 a month, $50 a year donations that people all across the United States, across the rest of the world, make to Greenpeace. So these are the people that you might see on the streets in the city where you live, asking for donations to help fund Greenpeace and the work that we do to save the planet. And so that's where we get over 90% of our money from these types of donations. We get some money from larger scale donations, individuals who have more means and are able to give in larger quantities, but as individuals. And that's we receive very little even money from philanthropic foundations. A lot of times the work that we do falls outside of the purview of many of these foundations because we do more than educate. We campaign to change. We campaign for social and environmental change. And so many foundations, they don't fund that work. And so most of our work is funded by individuals around the globe, millions of people who support and share our values and want to see a better world, and they give a small financial contribution to help make that happen. Recently, when President Obama made a stop in Ghana, his first stop in Africa, big news, and it coincided with some work that we've done in Ghana that drew the interest of a number of members of the media. We did some e-waste expose work last year in Ghana, in Accra, where a lot, just like we're seeing in Lagos and Nigeria, West Africa is a new destination for this e-waste, which is no surprise. India and China are actually strengthening their laws, trying to prohibit more of this toxic chemicals to go in, toxic waste to go into their countries. So it's just going to go, as long as we don't control it here in the United States, it's just going to go some other place. And one of those big hot spots is West Africa. What we're seeing, and we brought our scientists into Accra, and we were, this stuff comes straight off the container ship and goes directly to these incredibly informal sectors where they just take the waste out and then they begin to break it down with, crude instruments, and then they burn it to get at the wiring that they can then resell for pennies. Well, what we saw, we tested the soil. This area is just as toxic as the most toxic areas that we've seen in China. And unfortunately, when we were there, we saw computers that were from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, literally computers that our government environmental watchdogs had been using, and they can't even control their own electronic waste. This was just ending up in the electronic waste stream just like anybody else's computers, and was now sitting in a toxic dump in Ghana. It was very, very disappointing to see, and sort of emblematic of the larger problem that we're dealing with here in the United States, and that we need action from the U.S. EPA to regulate. We could easily ban exports of e-waste leaving the U.S. shores. We could create good jobs to deal with the waste here in the United States. And that's not going to happen on its own. The Obama administration needs to step up and do more.
In both India and China, we found very similar processes, some minor differences, but essentially the ways the materials were being reprocessed was very similar. And not surprisingly, we found very similar levels of pollution and the type of pollutants. The only difference really between India and China was in India the workshops tend to be more enclosed within buildings, whereas in China many of the operations were in the open. People working in these environments can breathe in dusts, or through contamination onto food and things like that can actually ingest these chemicals. Some of the other organic chemicals present are very persistent in the environment. They can accumulate in human bodies and also have a range of toxic effects. There's very high levels we found within the working environment, so workers working on these operations will be exposed to very high levels of these chemicals, sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of times background levels. Well, the heavy metals we found have a range of toxic effects. Metals like lead and mercury are particularly toxic to the nervous system, primarily on the developing nervous system in children, and effects have been seen even at low levels, things like affecting the IQ of children. Heavy metals like cadmium are toxic to the kidneys, and the effects will accumulate over time with ongoing exposures. The organic chemicals we found, many of them are bioaccumulative. They will build up in human tissues, and many have been linked with effects on the hormone system and other neurological impacts. Once they're in the environment, they do break down very slowly, and it would be extremely difficult to actually start remediating a whole area. And in both China and India, these are residential areas, a lot of the areas where the work is going on. And really, the way to stop it is to stop it at the production side. The reason these chemicals are being exposing workers and also the environment is because they're being put into the products in the first place. It's possible to substitute them, and if they weren't in the products, they wouldn't be then released upon the recycling of the materials.
There's a couple of key messages for consumers. One, continue to demand green electronics and to use your wallet, use your pocketbook to vote your values, to support and buy products and shop with companies that are doing better things for the environment. So we publish, in addition to this quarterly guide to greener electronics, we publish a yearly product guide. What are the greenest products on the market when you're looking for a new television, when you're looking for a new PC, when you're looking for a new mobile phone? So supporting companies and products that are the greenest in the marketplace. And again, we're using the same criteria. What type of toxic chemical elimination do you have? How long can you extend the life of this product through warranty, spare parts? What will happen to it? Will it be taken back and not burned, dumped, or shipped overseas? How energy efficient are these products? These are the criteria that we're measuring these products. And when consumers vote with their wallet, it sends the message to manufacturers that producing eco products is good for business. So that's one thing that we definitely ensure we encourage consumers to do. And they can find more information about our product guides at greenpeace.org/electronics. And the second thing is that we want people to join up with us, to join our campaigns, to put pressure upon these manufacturers. We have ways that people can take action online if they're really, a lot of the people that are really tied into this work are very much online people. They're on their computers all day. We have a lot of things that people can do online, but if they want to join our campaigns offline as well, we do a lot of work off the computer screen, and so there are ways that people can send that message to manufacturers that, hey, look, we need better products, we need better policies, we need you to be stepping up and lobbying for stronger laws. So to join up with us is another way that consumers can make a difference. Well, some people want to be able to contribute their money, some people want to contribute their time, and others have a very specific expertise in particular industries that we work in, and they want to contribute their knowledge. And so if you go to greenpeace.org, there'll be ways that you can sign up to contribute in all three of those ways. Just go down to, most of the websites have a donate button, and you can give money from there. You can also, there's a volunteer button. And so people can send in and let us know what their specific skills and talents are. If they work in the industry, they can let us know, and they can get in touch with us there, and we can liaise and learn about what they can share. We craft different responses depending on the individual.
إلى هنا مشاهدي آيتك عبر قناة الحرة نأتي إلى ختام جرين آيتك لهذا الأسبوع. كنا معكم من داخل مكاتب المنظمة العالمية جرين بيس، والموضوع حول النفايات الإلكترونية ونشاط جرين بيس في هذا المجال. الأسبوع المقبل نلتقي معكم من مكان آخر في العالم. إلى ذلك الحين تواصل دائما عبر بريدنا الإلكتروني aitak@alhurra.com. يمكن مشاهدة هذه الحلقة من آيتك وحلقات أخرى على موقع القناة في أي وقت www.alhurra.com، وأيضا على youtube.com/alhurra. والتواصل معنا يتم من خلال facebook.com/itechshow، وأيضا آخر أخبار البرنامج من خلال iTech Show على تويتر. شكرا لكم جميعا وإلى اللقاء.